The rain had been falling steadily over downtown Seattle all evening, creating a soft rhythm against the tall windows of Canlis, the upscale restaurant perched on Queen and Hill. I could see the city lights below us, blurred and golden through the water streaming down the glass, like a painting that someone had smudged before it could dry. The Space Needle stood in the distance, its observation deck glowing against the dark October sky. It was supposed to be romantic. It was supposed to be perfect. 10 years. A decade of marriage. I had spent the entire afternoon getting ready for this dinner, choosing the emerald green dress that my husband, Benjamin, had always said brought out the color of my eyes. I had my hair styled at that expensive salon on Madison Street, the one I usually avoided because it cost more than our weekly grocery budget. But tonight was special. Tonight was ours. I watched Benjamin across the table as he studied the wine list, his reading glasses perched on his nose in that way that still made my heart skip a little. At 42, he had more gray in his dark hair than when we got married, but he wore it well. He was wearing the navy suit I had bought him last Christmas, and he looked handsome, composed, every bit the successful architect he had worked so hard to become. The waiter brought our appetizers, delicate plates of seared scallops that looked almost too beautiful to eat. The restaurant hummed with quiet conversations, the gentle clink of silverware, the murmur of other couples celebrating their own moments. I felt grateful. Despite everything we had been through, the late nights when Benjamin worked on demanding projects, the arguments about money when his firm nearly went under 3 years ago, the heartbreak of 2 miscarriages that had left us questioning whether we would ever become parents, we had made it. We were still here, still together. Benjamin reached across the table and took my hand. His fingers were warm, familiar. I could feel the callus on his thumb from where he always held his drafting pencil, even though most of his work was digital now. Some habits die hard. "How are you feeling, Claire?" he asked, and there was something in his voice I could not quite place. A tension. A weight. "I am happy," I said, and I meant it. "I am really happy, Ben. 10 years. Can you believe it?" He smiled, but it did not quite reach his eyes. The waiter returned with the wine Benjamin had ordered, a bottle of red that cost more than I wanted to think about. As the waiter poured, I noticed Benjamin's hand trembling slightly. I attributed it to excitement. Maybe he had planned something special. A surprise. Benjamin had always been thoughtful that way, remembering little details, planning gestures that took my breath away. The restaurant's ambient lighting cast soft shadows across his face as he lifted his glass. Other diners nearby seemed to sense something was happening, the way people do when they notice a moment unfolding. A few tables away, an elderly couple watched us with gentle smiles. They probably assumed we were celebrating something beautiful. They probably saw what they wanted to see. A handsome couple, well-dressed, toasting to love and commitment. Benjamin cleared his throat. His hand was definitely shaking now. I felt my own heart begin to race, though I told myself it was anticipation. Good anticipation. "I want to make a toast," he said, his voice carrying just loud enough for nearby tables to hear. "To 10 years. To everything we have been through. To the life we have built." I raised my glass, smiling, waiting for him to continue. Waiting for the words I expected. To us, to my beautiful wife, to many more years together. The words that would make this moment perfect, that would crystallize this evening into a memory I could hold on to during difficult days. But then his eyes shifted. Just slightly. Just enough for me to notice. He was not looking at me anymore. He was looking past me, toward the entrance of the restaurant. "To the perfect woman," he said, his voice stronger now, almost defiant. "To the woman who changed everything." My glass stopped halfway to my lips. The wine inside it trembled, creating tiny ripples that caught the candlelight. I felt my face grow hot, then cold. The elderly couple at the nearby table had stopped smiling. The low murmur of conversation around us seemed to fade, replaced by a ringing in my ears that made everything feel distant and unreal. "Ben," I whispered, "what are you doing?" He was not looking at me. He was still looking past me, and now he was standing, his chair scraping against the hardwood floor. I heard footsteps behind me, heels on wood, getting closer. I could not turn around. I could not move. My entire body had locked up, every muscle tensed against what was coming. This was not happening. This could not be happening. Not here. Not tonight. Not on our anniversary. The footsteps stopped beside our table. I smelled perfume, something floral and expensive, something I did not recognize. Finally, I forced myself to turn my head. She was younger than me, maybe early 30s, tall, with long auburn hair that fell in perfect waves over her shoulders. She wore a black dress that probably cost more than my car payment. Her makeup was flawless, her smile confident. She looked like she belonged in this expensive restaurant, like she belonged in Benjamin's world of high-end architecture and wealthy clients. She looked like everything I had never quite managed to become. Benjamin moved around the table to stand beside her. He put his arm around her waist. The gesture was familiar, comfortable, practiced. How many times had he done this before? How many dinners? How many events? How many moments had they shared while I was home alone, waiting for him to finish working late? "Claire," Benjamin said, and his voice was gentle now, almost apologetic. "This is Natalie, and there is something I need to tell you." The restaurant had gone completely quiet around us. Or maybe it had not. Maybe the world was continuing as normal, and I was simply trapped in this bubble of humiliation and shock, unable to hear anything beyond the rushing of blood in my ears and the thundering of my own heartbeat. I should have screamed. I should have thrown my wine in his face, should have stood up and walked out with whatever dignity I could salvage. But I just sat there, frozen, staring at my husband and this stranger, waiting for the words that would destroy everything I thought I knew about my life. "Natalie is my sister," Benjamin said. The words made no sense. I heard them, but they seemed to bounce off my brain without penetrating. Sister. Benjamin did not have a sister. He was an only child. His parents had died in a car accident when he was in college. He had no family. That was one of the things that had drawn us together in the first place. We were both alone in the world. We had built our own family, just the two of us. "I don't understand," I finally managed to say. My voice sounded strange, distant. Natalie sat down in the empty chair at our table, uninvited but somehow expected. Benjamin returned to his seat as well, but he kept his eyes on her, not on me. There was something in his expression I had never seen before. Awe. Wonder. The look of someone seeing a miracle. "I need to start from the beginning," Benjamin said. "And I need you to listen. Really listen. Because everything I told you about my family, about my past, was not exactly true." The rain outside intensified, hammering against the windows, now instead of that gentle patter. The city lights below seemed to pulse and blur. I gripped the edge of the table, my knuckles white, and prepared to hear my husband tell me that our entire marriage had been built on lies. "I was not an only child," Benjamin continued. "I had a sister. A twin sister, actually. When we were 4 years old, our parents divorced. It was bitter. Terrible. The kind of divorce that destroys everything in its path. My mother got custody of me. My father got custody of Natalie. They made an agreement. A horrible, cruel agreement. They each took one child and agreed never to speak of the other one again. Never to let us see each other. Never to even acknowledge that the other existed. I looked at Natalie. She was crying now, silent tears running down her perfect face, leaving dark trails of mascara. But she was smiling too, a trembling, emotional smile that made her look vulnerable and real. "I grew up thinking I was alone," Benjamin said. "My parents died when I was 20, and I thought that was it. No family. No one. I had built my entire identity around being solitary, being independent. And then 3 months ago, I got a message on LinkedIn from someone claiming to be my sister. 3 months ago. I did my math quickly. That would have been July. Right when Benjamin started working longer hours. Right when he started being distant and distracted. Right when I started feeling like I was losing him. I thought it was a scam," Benjamin continued. "Some kind of fraud. But she sent me pictures. Old pictures of our parents. Pictures I had never seen before. She told me things only someone who had lived in our childhood home would know. Details about the layout of the house, about our father's habits, about things that had never been made public. And then she sent me a DNA test. We both took it, and it was confirmed. She is my sister, my twin sister. And for 38 years, I did not even know she existed." He was crying now too. I had seen Benjamin cry only twice in our marriage. Once at our wedding, when I walked down the aisle. Once when we lost our second pregnancy, when the doctor told us there was no heartbeat. But this was different. This was a raw, overwhelming emotion that seemed to consume him entirely. For 3 months, I have been meeting with Natalie, trying to piece together our history, trying to understand what was stolen from us. And Claire, I wanted to tell you. I wanted to tell you so badly. But I did not know how. I did not know how to explain that I had been lying to you. Even if it was not my fault, even if I did not know the truth myself. I did not know how to tell you that everything you knew about me was incomplete. The waiter approached our table cautiously, probably sensing the emotional storm happening. Benjamin waved him away without looking. The couple at the nearby table had stopped even pretending not to watch. We were a spectacle now, a drama unfolding in real time. And tonight, Benjamin said, turning to look at me directly for the first time since Natalie had arrived, tonight I wanted to finally introduce you properly. I wanted to celebrate not just our anniversary, but the fact that I am not alone anymore, that I have family, that there is someone in this world who shares my blood, my history, my face. When I said the perfect woman, I meant the woman who gave me back a part of myself I did not know was missing. Natalie reached across the table and took my hand. Hers was cold, trembling. Claire, I am so sorry for how this looks, for how this feels. I told Benjamin we should tell you weeks ago. But he was scared. He was scared you would be angry that he kept this from you. He was scared you would feel betrayed. I am angry, I said, and my voice came out sharp, clear. The fog was starting to lift. The shock was giving way to something else. Something clearer. I am angry. You kept this from me for 3 months. 3 months of sneaking around. 3 months of lies. Not lies, Benjamin said quickly. Just silence. Just not knowing how to tell you. That is the same thing, I said. When you are married, silence is a lie. When you keep something this big from your wife, when you let her think you are having an affair instead of telling her the truth, that is a choice. That is a lie. Benjamin's face crumbled. You thought I was having an affair. What was I supposed to think? I felt the tears coming now, hot and angry. You were distant. You were secretive. You were gone all the time. And now you bring a beautiful woman to our anniversary dinner and toast to her instead of to me. What the hell was I supposed to think? The restaurant around us had returned to its normal rhythm, other diners politely averting their eyes now, giving us the illusion of privacy. But I knew they were listening. I knew they were judging. I knew that somewhere, someone was probably posting about this on social media. Crazy scene at Canlis tonight. Husband brought his mistress to anniversary dinner. Except it was not even that simple. It was so much more complicated. Natalie withdrew her hand from mine. I should go, she said quietly. This was a mistake. Benjamin, we should have done this differently. No, I said, surprising myself. Stay, please. If you are really his sister, if this is really true, then you are part of this family. And we need to figure this out. Together. Benjamin looked at me with such gratitude, such relief, that I almost forgave him on the spot. Almost. But not quite. There was still too much to process, too much to understand. The waiter appeared again, this time with our main courses. He set them down quietly, quickly, and disappeared without asking if we needed anything else. The food looked incredible. Expertly prepared plates of wild salmon and roasted vegetables that probably would have been the highlight of any normal anniversary dinner. But I could not imagine eating. My stomach was twisted in knots. Tell me everything, I said, looking between Benjamin and Natalie. From the beginning. I want to know the whole story, and then we need to figure out where we go from here. Benjamin took a deep breath. The rain continued to fall outside, and somewhere in the distance, thunder rolled across the Seattle sky. This was not the anniversary dinner I had imagined. But maybe, I thought as I looked at these two people who suddenly seemed like strangers, maybe it was the beginning of something else. Something harder. Something more real. We left Canlis without finishing our meal. The salmon sat untouched on our plates, growing cold as we gathered our things. Benjamin paid the bill with hands that still trembled slightly. The hostess smiled professionally as we left, probably relieved that the dramatic scene at table 12 was finally over. The elderly couple gave me a sympathetic look as we passed. I wondered what version of the story they would tell their friends tomorrow. Outside, the rain had softened to a mist that hung in the air like suspended silver dust. The parking lot was slick and gleaming under the streetlights. Natalie stood uncertainly beside a black BMW, expensive and new. Benjamin and I had parked his older Honda Accord 3 spaces away. The contrast felt symbolic somehow. "We should talk more," I said, pulling my coat tighter against the October chill. "But not here. Not like this." My mind was racing, questions piling up faster than I could organize them. "Why don't you come to our house?" Natalie glanced at Benjamin, seeking permission. He nodded. "I will text you the address," he said. "You don't know where we live?" I asked her. She shook her head. Benjamin and I always met in neutral places. Coffee shops. Parks. He said he wanted to tell you first before I saw where you lived. Before this became too real. Another secret. Another decision made without me. I swallowed the fresh wave of hurt and walked toward our car. Benjamin followed silently. We did not speak as he started the engine, as we pulled out of the parking lot and began the drive back to our house in Ballard. The neighborhood streets were quiet at this hour, most of our neighbors already settled in for the night. Through lit windows, I could see other families going about their normal Tuesday evening routines. Someone doing dishes, someone watching television, someone helping a child with homework. Normal. Simple. Uncomplicated. Our house was a modest craftsman bungalow that we had bought 5 years ago, stretching our budget to its absolute limit. Benjamin had been so proud when we closed on it. He had carried me over the threshold, even though we had already been married 5 years by then. We had spent countless weekends fixing it up, painting walls, refinishing the hardwood floors, building a deck in the backyard. It was ours. Our home. Our sanctuary. Now it felt like a place where I did not know all the rules anymore. Natalie pulled up behind us as we parked in the driveway. She stepped out slowly, looking up at the house. Benjamin had designed the front porch renovation himself, adding cedar columns and a swing where we often sat on summer evenings. I wondered what she saw when she looked at it. Our life. The life her brother had built without her. Inside, I turned on the lights and immediately busied myself making coffee. It gave me something to do with my hands, something to focus on besides the surreal situation unfolding in my living room. Benjamin helped Natalie out of her coat. They moved around each other with a strange familiarity, like dancers who had just learned a new routine. I could see the similarities now that I was looking for them. The same dark hair, though hers was longer and more carefully styled. The same shape to their eyes. The same way they both tilted their heads, slightly when they were thinking. How had I not seen it immediately? How had the word sister not been my first thought when she appeared at the restaurant? "Because you thought the worst," a voice in my head answered. "Because 3 months of distance and secrecy had trained you to expect betrayal." We settled into the living room, me on the armchair, Benjamin and Natalie on the couch. Not together, exactly, but close enough that I could see they had formed a bond. A connection that did not include me. The coffee maker gurgled in the kitchen, filling the house with a familiar, comforting smell. "Okay," I said, my voice steadier now. "Tell me everything. How did you find him, Natalie?" She folded her hands in her lap, her composure returning now that we were in private. "I hired a private investigator 3 years ago," she began. "I had always known I was a twin. My father told me when I was 16. He said my mother had taken my brother in the divorce, and that she wanted nothing to do with us. He made her sound cruel, vindictive. He said she had poisoned my brother against me, that there was no point trying to find him because he would have been taught to hate me." Benjamin made a sound of protest. "My mother never mentioned you. Not once. I grew up thinking I was alone." Natalie nodded. "I believe you. I think our parents both rewrote history in their own minds. Maybe it was easier that way. Maybe they convinced themselves they were protecting us. But 3 years ago, my father died. Lung cancer. And in his papers, I found the original divorce decree. It had your mother's full name, the city where she lived, details that my investigator could use. But the trail went cold. Your mother had died years ago. You had moved several times. You had changed careers. It took 3 years to find you. 3 years, I repeated. And then you just reached out on LinkedIn? I did not know what else to do. I thought about hiring a lawyer, having them contact you officially. But that seemed so cold, so formal. I wanted to reach out person to person, twin to twin. So I sent a message explaining who I was and asking if we could talk. And then I waited. For 3 days, I waited, thinking he would never respond. Thinking he would believe I was a scammer or crazy. Benjamin leaned forward, his elbows on his knees. When I saw that message, I felt like I had been hit by lightning. Everything I thought I knew about my life, about my identity, was suddenly in question. I showed it to my therapist. "You have a therapist?" I interrupted. "Since when?" "Since about 6 months ago," he said quietly. "I did not tell you because I did not want you to worry. Business has been stressful. I was having trouble sleeping, having panic attacks at work. I thought I could handle it on my own, but finally I admitted I needed help. Another secret, another piece of his life that he had walled off from me. I felt something crack inside my chest. Why didn't you tell me? I could have supported you. That is what marriage is supposed to be." "I know," he said, and there were tears in his eyes again. "I know, Claire. I have been terrible at this, at letting you in, at trusting you with the hard stuff, and I am so sorry. But my therapist helped me work through the message from Natalie, helped me understand that I needed to find out the truth. So I responded, and we met for coffee, and she showed me pictures of our father, of the house where she grew up, of her childhood, and it was like looking at a mirror version of my own life. Different, but fundamentally the same. I got up to get the coffee, needing another moment to process. When I returned with 3 mugs, I noticed Natalie had been crying too. Her mascara, already smudged at the restaurant, had left dark trails down her cheeks. She looked younger now, vulnerable. I wanted to hate her. I wanted to blame her for the distance in my marriage, for the secrets, for the humiliation at the restaurant. But looking at her now, I could not muster that anger. She was a victim too, a child whose parents had made a catastrophic decision that had shaped her entire life. "What was your childhood like?" I asked her, sitting back down with my coffee. She wrapped her hands around her mug, seeking warmth. "Lonely," she said simply. "My father was not a warm man. He was successful, a corporate lawyer, but he worked constantly. I was raised by nannies mostly. I went to good schools, had everything I needed materially. But emotionally, I always felt like something was missing. Like there was a hole inside me that nothing could fill. And when my father finally told me about Benjamin, suddenly it made sense. I was not whole. Half of me was somewhere else, living a completely separate life." Benjamin nodded. I felt the same way. I always thought it was because my parents were emotionally distant. My mother was depressed after my father left. She worked 2 jobs to support us. We moved a lot. I never had stability, but I also never felt complete, like I was searching for something I could not name. "And now you have found each other," I said. It should have sounded bitter, but it came out sad instead. Empty. Benjamin set down his coffee and moved to kneel in front of my chair. "Claire, listen to me. Finding Natalie does not change how I feel about you. You are my wife. You are my partner. You are the person I chose to build a life with. This does not take anything away from us." "But it does," I said, and finally the tears came. "It does, Ben. Because you kept it from me. Because you made this huge discovery, and you dealt with it alone. Because you built this relationship with your sister, and I was completely in the dark. Do you understand how that feels? I thought we were partners. I thought we told each other everything. I was afraid," he whispered. "I was afraid you would be hurt that I had lied about being an only child. I was afraid you would think less of me for not knowing my own history. I was afraid that if I told you, it would make it too real. And I was not ready for it to be real yet. I needed time to process it myself first." Natalie spoke up. "This is my fault. I pushed him to keep it quiet at first. I was afraid that if too many people knew, it would get back to my mother. She is still alive, and I have not decided if I want to contact her or not. The woman who gave me away. The woman who chose my brother over me. I don't know if I can forgive her for that." "Where does she live?" I asked. "Phoenix," Natalie said. "She remarried, has 2 other children, half-siblings that Benjamin has never met, a whole other family that does not know we exist." The coffee had gone cold in my hands. The clock on the mantel ticked steadily, marking time passing in this new reality. Outside, I heard a car door slam, a neighbor coming home late. Normal sounds in an increasingly abnormal night. "I need time," I said finally. "I need time to process this, to figure out what this means for us, for our marriage. Because right now, I feel like I don't know you at all, Ben. And that terrifies me. Benjamin stood slowly, heavily. I understand. What do you need from me? I need honesty. Complete honesty. No more secrets. No more keeping things from me because you are afraid of how I will react. If we are going to survive this, we need to start being real with each other. About everything. He nodded. Anything else? I turned to Natalie. I need you to understand something. I am not angry at you. This is not your fault. But you are part of what has hurt my marriage, even if you did not mean to be. So if you want to be part of Benjamin's life, part of our family, you need to respect our relationship. You need to respect me. She met my eyes directly. I do respect you. Benjamin talks about you constantly. About how smart you are, how creative, how you stuck with him when his business was failing. He loves you, Claire. That has never been in question. Then why does it feel like I have lost him? The question hung in the air unanswered. We talked until past midnight, piecing together the fragments of Benjamin and Natalie's shared history. They had been born in Spokane. Their parents had married young, too young. Their father had been controlling, their mother rebellious. The marriage had imploded by the time the twins were 3. The divorce had been finalized on their 4th birthday. What judge had agreed to split twins apart? What system had allowed 2 children to be separated so completely? Natalie promised to send me all the documents she had found. The divorce decree, the custody agreement, pictures of Benjamin as a child that I had never seen. She wanted transparency now. She wanted me to know everything. When she finally left, around 1 in the morning, Benjamin and I stood in the driveway watching her taillights disappear down the street. The rain had stopped completely. The sky was clearing, revealing patches of stars between the clouds. I am sorry, Benjamin said for what felt like the 100th time. I am so sorry, Claire. I know, I said. But sorry is not enough. We need to fix this. Really fix this. And that is going to take more than apologies. We went inside. The house felt different now, like a place where difficult truths had been spoken and could not be taken back. Benjamin headed toward our bedroom. I stopped at the door. I am going to sleep in the guest room tonight, I said. I need space. The look on his face nearly broke me. But I held firm. This was not punishment. This was survival. This was me creating the boundary I needed to process everything that had happened. I lay awake in the guest room for hours, staring at the ceiling, replaying the evening over and over. The toast, the stranger at our table, the revelation, the secrets, all of it swirling in my mind like debris in a storm. My phone buzzed. A text from my best friend, Melissa. She had called earlier and I had ignored it. Now her message glowed in the darkness. Hey, you okay? You were supposed to call me after your anniversary dinner. How did it go? I stared at the screen, unsure how to even begin explaining. Finally, I typed back. It was complicated. I will call you tomorrow. But I knew that conversation would be impossible. How do you tell someone that your husband toasted to another woman at your anniversary dinner, but it turns out she is his secret twin sister? How do you explain that your marriage has been built on incomplete truths, not because anyone meant to lie, but because life is messy and complicated and sometimes people do not even know their own stories? I thought about my own parents, divorced when I was 10, civil but distant. I had chosen Benjamin partly because we were both alone, both orphaned in different ways, both building something new from nothing. Now I realize that foundation had cracks I never knew existed. Tomorrow, I would have to face my colleagues at the nonprofit where I worked. Tomorrow, I would have to pretend everything was fine. Tomorrow, I would have to decide what came next. But tonight, I just lay in the darkness and let myself feel everything. The hurt, the betrayal, the confusion, the strange, complicated empathy I felt for both Benjamin and Natalie. The fear that my marriage might not survive this. And underneath it all, a question that would not leave me alone. If Benjamin could keep this from me, what else did not I know? The morning arrived gray and cold, typical for late October in Seattle. I woke disoriented in the guest room, momentarily confused about why I was not in my own bed. Then it all came flooding back. The restaurant, Natalie, the secrets. I grabbed my phone from the nightstand and saw it was already 8:30. I had overslept, something I almost never did. There was a note slid under the door. Benjamin's handwriting, small and precise. Claire, I left early to give you space. There is coffee made. I canceled my morning meetings. We need to talk more when you are ready. I love you. I am so sorry. Ben. I picked up the note and held it for a long moment before folding it carefully and setting it on the dresser. In the bathroom mirror, I looked exhausted. Dark circles under my eyes. My hair was a mess from tossing and turning all night. The emerald dress from last night hung on the back of the door, a reminder of how different I had felt just 24 hours ago. Hopeful. Happy. Naive. I showered and dressed in jeans and a sweater, comfortable clothes that felt like armor. In the kitchen, the coffee was still warm. Benjamin had left out my favorite mug, the one with the chipped handle that I refused to throw away because he had given it to me on our first anniversary. Small gestures. They had always been his way of showing love. But were they enough? My phone rang. Melissa. I had to answer this time, or she would show up at my house. Hey, I said, trying to sound normal. Oh my God, what is wrong? She asked immediately. Melissa had been my friend since college. She could read me like a book. What happened last night? I sank into one of the kitchen chairs. It is a long story. I have time. Tell me everything. So I did. I told her about the toast, about Natalie appearing, about the revelation that Benjamin had a twin sister he never knew existed, about the 3 months of secrets, about sleeping in the guest room. All of it came pouring out in a rush of words that left me breathless. Melissa was silent for a long moment after I finished. Finally, she said, "Okay. That is a lot. That is a lot. How are you feeling?" "I don't know," I admitted. "I don't know if I am angrier about the secrets or more upset that he did not trust me enough to tell me. I don't know if this is something we can get past or if it has broken something fundamental between us." "Do you want to leave him?" she asked bluntly. Melissa had never been one to dance around difficult questions. "No," I said, surprising myself with how quickly the answer came. "No, I don't want to leave him. But I also don't know how to go forward from here. How do I trust him again? How do we rebuild this?" "Therapy," Melissa said immediately. "You need couples therapy. Like yesterday. This is too big to navigate on your own. He is already in therapy, apparently. Another thing he did not tell me. Then you need to join him. Or find someone you can see together. Claire, I love you, and I know you want to be strong and figure this out on your own. But this is not something you should try to handle without professional help." She was right. I knew she was right. "Okay. I will talk to Ben about it. And Claire," Melissa's voice softened, "for what it is worth, I don't think he kept this from you because he does not love you. I think he kept it from you because he was scared and overwhelmed and did not know how to process it himself. That does not make it okay, but it makes it human." After we hung up, I texted Benjamin. "We need to find a couples therapist. Can you ask your therapist for a recommendation?" His response came within seconds. "Yes. Already on it. I have 3 names. Can we talk tonight?" "Yes. Come home at your normal time." I spent the rest of the day trying to distract myself with work. I had projects piling up at the nonprofit, grant applications that needed attention, donor reports to write. But I found myself reading the same paragraph over and over, unable to focus. Finally, around 2 in the afternoon, I gave up and decided to take a walk. The neighborhood was quiet, most people at work or school. I walked without a destination, just moving, trying to clear my head. I ended up at Golden Gardens Park, standing on the beach looking out at Puget Sound. The water was choppy, whitecaps dotting the gray surface. A few sailboats braved the wind, their sails bright spots of color against the gloom. I thought about Natalie, about what her life must have been like growing up alone with a cold, distant father. I thought about Benjamin, raised by a depressed single mother who worked herself to exhaustion. 2 halves of the same whole, separated by a decision made when they were too young to have any say in their own fate. My phone buzzed. An email from Natalie. The subject line read, "Everything I promised." I opened it hesitantly. She had sent scans of dozens of documents. The divorce decree, just as she had described. Pictures of Benjamin and Natalie as babies, identical in every way. Pictures of them as toddlers before the split. In one photo, they were sitting in a double stroller, holding hands, laughing at something off camera. They looked so happy, so whole. There were also pictures of their parents. Their mother, young and pretty, but with sad eyes even in photos where she was smiling. Their father, stern and formal, always in a suit. I could see Benjamin in both of them. Natalie too. Genetics had given them both the same nose, the same chin, the same way of standing with their weight shifted slightly to one side. Natalie had included a long email as well. Claire, I want you to know how sorry I am for the pain I have caused. When I found Benjamin, I was so focused on filling the hole in my own life that I did not think enough about the impact on his existing relationships. On you. That was selfish and I regret it. Benjamin loves you deeply. He talks about you constantly. About how you support him, how you believe in him, how you make him laugh even on his worst days. You are not losing him to me. You could never lose him to me. What we have is different. It is about shared history, shared DNA. But what you two have is about choice. About love. About building a life together. That is stronger than biology. I hope you can forgive us both. I hope we can find a way to move forward. Natalie. I read the email 3 times, sitting on a driftwood log at the edge of the beach. The wind whipped my hair around my face. A group of teenagers passed by, laughing about something on their phones. Normal life continuing around me while mine felt suspended. By the time I walked home, it was nearly 4 o'clock. Benjamin's car was already in the driveway. He had come home early. I found him in the kitchen, pulling ingredients out of the refrigerator. He was making dinner. Pasta from the looks of it. My favorite, carbonara with fresh peas. Hey, he said softly when he saw me. I thought I would cook. Thank you, I said, setting my keys on the counter. We need to talk. He turned off the stove, and we sat at the kitchen table. The same table where we had eaten thousands of meals together. Where we had planned vacations and argued about finances and celebrated good news and comforted each other through bad. It felt weighted with history now. I got the email from Natalie, I said, and I have been thinking all day. About us. About what happened. About where we go from here. Benjamin waited, his hands folded on the table, giving me space to speak. I need you to understand something, I continued. This is not just about you keeping Natalie a secret. This is about a pattern. You did not tell me about your therapy. You did not tell me about your panic attacks. You did not tell me when you were struggling with work. You have been carrying all of this alone, and I did not even know you were drowning. That is what hurts the most. Not the sister. Not the complicated family history. But the fact that you shut me out of the hard parts of your life. His eyes filled with tears. You are right. You are completely right. I have been doing this for years, haven't I? Trying to protect you from my problems. Trying to be strong enough that you would not have to worry. But I realize now that I was not protecting you. I was protecting myself. Because if I did not tell you about the hard stuff, then I did not have to face how much I was struggling. Why? I asked. Why do you do that? He wiped his eyes. Because my mother fell apart when my father left. She was so broken that I had to be the strong one, even as a kid. I had to be the one who did not need anything, who did not cause problems, who kept it together. And I carried that into adulthood, into our marriage. I thought that was what being a good husband meant. Being strong, being stable, not burdening you with my struggles. But that is not a partnership, I said gently. That is you playing a role. I do not need you to be perfect, Ben. I need you to be real. I need you to trust me with the messy parts of your life, not just the polished surface. I know, he said. My therapist has been telling me the same thing. That vulnerability is not weakness. That asking for help is not failure. But knowing it intellectually and actually doing it are 2 different things. We sat in silence for a moment. Outside, the daylight was fading, the sky turning that particular shade of purple-gray that comes before full darkness. I could hear the refrigerator humming, the clock ticking, the small sounds of our house that usually brought me comfort. I spoke to Melissa today, I said. She thinks we need couples therapy. I agree. We need help navigating this. I already have 3 recommendations from my therapist, Benjamin said. I can call tomorrow and set up appointments. We can interview them and choose the one that feels right. Okay, I said. That is a start. What else do you need from me? He asked. Tell me what I can do to fix this. I need you to be patient with me while I work through my feelings. I need you to understand that trust is not going to be rebuilt overnight. And I need you to commit to complete honesty from now on. Even when it is hard. Even when you are scared of how I will react. Can you do that? Yes, he said without hesitation. I can do that. I will do that. And I need to meet with Natalie again, I said. Without you there. I need to get to know her on my own terms, not as your secret sister, but as a person who is going to be part of our lives. Benjamin looked surprised. You want to see her? If we are going to make this work, I need to understand who she is. I need to build my own relationship with her. Because you are right that she is not going away. She is your family. And if we stay married, she becomes my family too. So I need to figure out what that looks like. Relief flooded his face. Thank you. Thank you for being willing to try. I am not promising anything, I warned. I am still hurt. I am still angry. But I love you. And I want to fight for our marriage. So I am willing to try. But Ben, you have to meet me halfway. You have to do the work. I will, he promised. I swear I will. We ate dinner mostly in silence, but it was a different kind of silence than the night before. Not cold or angry, but thoughtful. Processing. We were both trying to figure out how to be in this new version of our marriage, this version where hard truths had been spoken and could not be taken back. After dinner, I called Natalie. She answered on the second ring. Claire, she said, and I could hear the nervousness in her voice. Thank you for your email. I got it. I read everything you sent. Thank you for reading it. I was not sure if you would want to hear from me. I actually wanted to ask if we could meet, I said. Just the two of us. Coffee or lunch or something. I think we need to talk without Benjamin there. I would like that, she said, sounding relieved. When? How about Friday? There is a cafe near my office. The Wandering Goose. Do you know it? I can find it. What time? Noon. Perfect. Claire, I really am sorry. For everything. I know, I said. We will figure this out. See you Friday. After I hung up, Benjamin was watching me from the doorway. That was generous of you, he said. It is not generous, I corrected. It is necessary. If she is going to be in our lives, I need to know who she is. On my own terms. That night, I slept in our bed. Not pressed up against Benjamin like I usually did, but on my own side, maintaining space. But it was progress. Small steps back toward each other. Over the next few days, we fell into a strange new routine. Benjamin went to work. I went to work. We came home and made dinner together. We talked more than we had in months, really talked, about his panic attacks and what triggered them, about the pressure he felt to make his architecture firm successful, about my own frustrations with my nonprofit job and feeling like I was not making enough of a difference. We had our first couples therapy appointment on Thursday evening. The therapist, Dr. Patterson, was a woman in her 50s with kind eyes and a direct manner that I appreciated. She did not let either of us hide behind politeness or vague answers. She pushed us to be specific about our feelings, about our needs, about the patterns in our marriage that were not working. By the end of the session, I felt exhausted but hopeful. We had a long way to go, but at least we were finally being honest with each other. Finally seeing the full picture instead of the carefully curated version we had both been presenting. Friday arrived. I was nervous about meeting Natalie alone. What would we talk about? How do you build a relationship with someone who is essentially a stranger, but who shares such a profound connection with your husband? The Wandering Goose was busy with the lunch crowd when I arrived. I spotted Natalie immediately, sitting at a corner table. She had dressed casually, jeans and a sweater, her long auburn hair pulled back in a ponytail. She looked less intimidating than she had in that black dress at the restaurant. More approachable. More real. Thank you for meeting me, I said, sliding into the seat across from her. Of course, she said. I have been hoping we could talk. We ordered sandwiches and coffee. For a few minutes, we made small talk about the weather, about the cafe, about nothing important. Then Natalie set down her coffee cup and looked at me directly. I need you to know that I never wanted to cause problems in your marriage, she said. When I found Benjamin, I was so focused on my own needs, my own emptiness, that I did not think about the ripple effects. That was wrong. Tell me about your life, I said. Benjamin told me some, but I want to hear it from you. What was it like growing up without him? She took a deep breath. Lonely. I was an only child, but I always felt like I was missing something. My father was cold, distant. He provided for me materially, but there was no warmth. I went to boarding school when I was 13, then college on the East Coast. I built a successful career in marketing. I got married when I was 28, divorced 2 years later. No kids. And through all of it, I felt incomplete. Like I was walking around with half of myself missing. When did your father tell you about Benjamin? When I was 16. We were arguing about something, I do not even remember what. And he said I was just like my mother, ungrateful and difficult. He said my mother had taken my brother and poisoned him against us, and good riddance to both of them. That was how I found out. In the middle of a fight. No preparation. No explanation. Just this bomb dropped into my life. That must have been devastating, I said. It was. I asked him why he had never told me before. Why he had let me grow up thinking I was alone. He said it was part of the divorce agreement. That neither parent was supposed to contact the other child. That it was meant to give us both a clean start. A clean start. Like we were businesses being divided up instead of children who needed each other. Did you try to find Benjamin then? I wanted to, but my father forbade it. He said it would only cause problems, that Benjamin would not want to know me, that I should let sleeping dogs lie. And I was 16. I did not have the resources or the knowledge to find someone on my own. So I waited. I finished high school, went to college, built my life. But I never forgot. And when my father died 3 years ago, I finally had the freedom to look. I watched her as she spoke. There was real pain in her voice, real longing. This was not someone trying to steal my husband or break up my marriage. This was someone who had been searching for a missing piece of herself for her entire life. What do you want from this relationship with Benjamin? I asked. What does it look like to you? She considered the question carefully. I want to know him. Really know him. I want to hear about his childhood, share mine. I want to understand how we grew up so differently despite being born at the same moment. I want to celebrate birthdays together. Maybe holidays eventually, if that is okay with you. I want what was stolen from us. A sibling relationship. Nothing more. Nothing that would threaten what he has with you. And what about your mother? Benjamin said she is still alive. Natalie's expression hardened. I do not know. Part of me wants to confront her. To ask her how she could do what she did. How she could take one child and act like the other never existed. But another part of me is terrified. What if she does not care? What if she has no regrets? What if meeting her just opens up more pain? Have you talked to Benjamin about it? Some. He is conflicted too. She is the only parent either of us has left, but she is also the person who made the decision to separate us. How do you forgive that? How do you move forward from that? I do not know, I said honestly. But I think you both need to make that decision together. You are twins. You share this history. Whatever you decide about your mother, you should decide as a team. We talked for almost 2 hours. She told me about her job, about her friends, about her apartment in Capitol Hill. I told her about my work at the nonprofit, about how Benjamin and I met in graduate school, about our miscarriages, and how they had nearly broken us. We were not friends. Not yet, but we were building a foundation. A tentative connection based on honesty and shared love for Benjamin. As we were leaving, Natalie stopped me. Claire, I want you to know something. Benjamin is lucky to have you. The way you are handling this, the way you are fighting for your marriage while also making space to get to know me, it takes real strength. Real grace. I hope we can be friends. Not just because of Benjamin, but because I genuinely like you. I surprised myself by hugging her. We will figure it out, I said. One step at a time. I drove back to my office feeling lighter than I had in days. The path forward was not clear, but at least I could see there was a path. We were not stuck. We were not broken beyond repair. We were just a family figuring out how to expand to include someone new. That evening, I told Benjamin about my lunch with Natalie. He listened carefully, asking questions, looking relieved that we had connected. She is a good person, he said. I am glad you saw that. I did, I said. And I think we can make this work. All 3 of us. But it is going to take time. And continued honesty. And a lot of hard conversations. I know, he said. And I am ready for that. I promise. We were sitting on the couch, closer than we had been in days. I leaned my head on his shoulder, feeling the familiar warmth of his body, the steady rhythm of his breathing. This was my husband, my partner, the person I had chosen. And despite everything, I still chose him. Dr. Patterson wants us to do an exercise, Benjamin said. Each of us is supposed to write down our fears about the marriage, our real, honest fears, and then share them with each other. No judgment, just listening. That sounds terrifying, I said. It does, he agreed. But I think we need to do it. I think we need to put everything on the table so we know what we are really dealing with. Okay, I said. When? Tonight. Let's do it tonight. Rip the Band-Aid off. So we each took a notebook and went to separate rooms. I sat in the guest room, pen in hand, staring at the blank page. What were my fears? Really? I started writing. I am afraid you will always keep parts of yourself hidden from me. I am afraid that no matter how much therapy we do, you will default back to handling everything alone. I am afraid that Natalie, as wonderful as she is, will become the person you turn to instead of me. I am afraid we will never fully recover from this. I am afraid that 3 months of secrets has broken something that cannot be fixed. I am afraid I will never fully trust you again. I am afraid that I am not enough for you. I am afraid that you will realize you made a mistake marrying me. The last one surprised me as I wrote it. Was that really what I feared? That I was not good enough? That Benjamin had settled? I stared at the words for a long time. Then I added one more. I am afraid that if I am completely honest about how much this hurt, you will leave me. When I came back to the living room, Benjamin was already there, his own notebook in hand. We sat facing each other on the couch. Who goes first? I asked. I will, he said. He took a deep breath and began to read. I am afraid that I have damaged our marriage beyond repair. I am afraid that you will never fully forgive me. I am afraid that every time I am late coming home, or every time I do not answer my phone immediately, you will think I am keeping secrets. I am afraid that you will leave me, and I will have deserved it. I am afraid that I am fundamentally broken, and that I will never be the husband you deserve. I am afraid that my inability to be vulnerable will destroy everything good in my life. I am afraid that finding Natalie, as wonderful as that is, has cost me you. And I am afraid that I do not know how to fix it. We were both crying now. I reached across the space between us and took his hand. My turn, I said, and read my own list. When I got to the last fear, my voice shook. I am afraid that if I am completely honest about how much this hurt, you will leave me. Benjamin pulled me into his arms. I would never leave you, he said fiercely. Never. You are the best thing that ever happened to me. I was an idiot for not seeing that keeping secrets would hurt you this badly. I was an idiot for not trusting you with the hard stuff. But I love you, Claire. I have loved you from the day we met. And I will spend the rest of my life proving that to you if you will let me. We held each other for a long time, crying together, grieving for the innocence our marriage had lost, mourning the version of ourselves that had existed before this all happened. But we were also beginning to heal. Finally being honest, finally laying everything bare, was painful but necessary. It was the only way forward. 3 months passed. Autumn gave way to winter, and Seattle settled into its characteristic gray drizzle. The holidays approached, bringing with them a whole new set of challenges and decisions. Would Natalie join us for Thanksgiving? What about Christmas? How do you navigate family traditions when your family has suddenly expanded in unexpected ways? Benjamin and I continued couples therapy every week. Dr. Patterson pushed us to develop better communication patterns, to check in with each other daily about our emotional states, to practice vulnerability, even when it felt uncomfortable. Slowly, painfully, we were learning how to be honest with each other. Really honest. Not the surface-level honesty of reporting facts, but the deeper honesty of sharing fears and insecurities and needs. I started individual therapy, too. I needed space to process my own feelings without worrying about how they affected Benjamin. My therapist, a gentle man named Dr. Liu, helped me understand that my fear of not being enough had roots that went much deeper than Benjamin's secrets. It went back to my parents' divorce, to feeling like I had somehow caused it by not being a good enough daughter. It went back to years of trying to be perfect, so that no one would leave me. Understanding that did not make it go away, but it helped me see that my reaction to Benjamin's secrecy was about more than just his actions. It was about old wounds being reopened. And recognizing that gave me more compassion for both of us. We were both carrying baggage from our pasts into our marriage. The question was whether we could set it down long enough to build something healthier together. Natalie and I met for coffee every other week. Sometimes Benjamin joined us, sometimes he did not. She told me stories about their father, about growing up in a house that felt more like a museum than a home. I told her about my childhood, about the chaos of my parents fighting, and the relief when they finally separated. We bonded over being children of divorce, over understanding what it meant to grow up feeling like you were always walking on eggshells. In early November, Natalie made a decision. She was going to contact their mother. She asked Benjamin to come with her, and after a long discussion with me and Dr. Patterson, he agreed. I was not invited, and I understood why. This was something they needed to do together, just the two of them. They flew to Phoenix on a Friday morning. Benjamin called me that evening from their hotel. "We are seeing her tomorrow," he said, and I could hear the anxiety in his voice. "I do not know if I am ready for this." "You do not have to be ready," I said. "You just have to show up. And remember, whatever happens, you have me. You have Natalie. You are not alone anymore." "I love you," he said. "Thank you for supporting this." "I love you too. Call me after, okay? No matter how late." "I will." That Saturday was one of the longest days of my life. I tried to distract myself with work, with cleaning the house, with anything that would keep my mind occupied. But I kept checking my phone, waiting for Benjamin to call. Finally, at 9 o'clock that night, my phone rang. "Hey," I said. "How did it go?" Benjamin's voice was thick with emotion. "It was hard. Really hard. She cried a lot. We all did. She said she has regretted the decision every day for 38 years but did not know how to undo it. She said our father threatened to make the divorce even uglier if she tried to contact Natalie. She said she was young and scared and made the wrong choice. She said she was sorry. Over and over, she said she was sorry. Do you believe her?" I asked. "I think so. I mean, what she did was unforgivable. But I also saw a woman who has been living with crushing guilt for almost 4 decades. She kept a scrapbook, Claire, of things she found about me online, articles about my firm, pictures from social media. She said she followed my life from a distance because she could not bear to completely let me go. What about Natalie? How is she handling it? She's angry. More angry than I am, I think. She confronted our mother about why she chose me, why I was worth keeping and she was not. And our mother said it was not like that. She said our father insisted on taking Natalie because she looked more like him. Because she was Daddy's little girl, even at 4 years old. It was not about worth. It was about our father being cruel and manipulative. Are you going to see her again? I do not know. Maybe. Natalie says she needs time. And I need time too. We exchanged contact information. Our mother gave us more pictures, more documents. She filled in parts of our history we never knew. But I do not know if we can have a real relationship with her after what she did. That is okay, I said. You do not have to decide that now. You can take all the time you need. How are you? He asked. I feel like I have been so focused on this that I have not checked in with you. I am okay. Missing you. Proud of you for doing this, even though it was hard. I will be home tomorrow afternoon. Can we do something just the two of us tomorrow night? No talk about family drama. Just us. I would love that, I said. He came home Sunday exhausted but somehow lighter. We went to dinner at a small Italian restaurant in Fremont. Nothing fancy, just good food and quiet conversation. We talked about work, about plans for the house, about whether we wanted to try having a baby again. Normal things. Married people things. It felt like coming home to ourselves. Thanksgiving arrived. After much discussion, we decided to host. It would be me, Benjamin, Natalie, and Melissa with her husband and their 2 kids. A small gathering. A new kind of family. I spent days preparing, cooking the turkey, making side dishes, baking pies. Benjamin cleaned the house and set up a folding table in the dining room so we would have enough space. Natalie arrived early on Thanksgiving morning to help. We worked side by side in the kitchen, chopping vegetables, making stuffing, basting the turkey. It felt surprisingly natural. She told me about a guy she had been seeing, someone she met through a friend. I gave her advice based on my own dating disasters before I met Benjamin. We laughed. We gossiped. We acted like sisters, or at least like friends who were becoming sisters. When everyone arrived and we sat down to eat, Benjamin stood to make a toast. I tensed, remembering the last time he had made a toast. But this time, he was looking right at me. I want to thank everyone for being here, he said. This has been a challenging year. A year of revelations and hard truths and painful growth. But it has also been a year of grace. Claire, you could have walked away when you found out I had been keeping secrets from you. You could have decided I was not worth fighting for. But you stayed. You did the hard work. You pushed me to be better, to be more honest, to be the partner you deserve. I do not deserve you, but I am grateful for you every single day. He turned to Natalie. And Natalie, you gave me back a part of myself I did not know was missing. You taught me that family is not just about the people who raised you, but about the people who choose to show up for you. Thank you for finding me. Thank you for being patient while I figured out how to fit you into my life. And to all of you, he gestured to Melissa and her family, thank you for loving us through the messy parts. For not judging. For being the kind of friends who show up when things are hard. So here is to family, in all its complicated, beautiful, imperfect forms. Here is to starting new traditions. And here is to the people we choose to love. We raised our glasses. And this time, when Benjamin looked at me, I saw only love. Only commitment. Only the promise of a future we would build together. The meal was chaotic and loud and perfect. Melissa's kids spilled juice and argued over who got the bigger slice of pie. Natalie and Benjamin told stories about meeting their mother, and we all agreed that family relationships were complicated at best. Melissa's husband fell asleep on the couch after eating too much turkey. Normal. Beautifully, perfectly normal. After everyone left, Benjamin and I cleaned up together, washing dishes and putting away leftovers. My feet hurt from being on them all day. I was exhausted, but I was also happy. Genuinely, deeply happy. This was nice, Benjamin said, drying a serving platter. Having everyone here. Building new traditions. It was, I agreed. Different from what I imagined our life would look like. But good different. He set down the dish towel and pulled me into his arms. I know I keep saying this, but I am sorry. For all of it. For the secrets. For the pain I caused. For making you question whether you were enough. You are more than enough, Claire. You are everything. I know, I said. And I forgive you. Not because what you did was okay, but because I love you. Because we are doing the work to fix this. Because I believe we can build something even stronger than what we had before. We stood in our kitchen, holding each other, tired and full and grateful. The house smelled like turkey and pumpkin pie. Outside, rain began to fall again, that gentle Seattle rain that sounds like static. It was the sound of home. December brought more challenges. Benjamin's firm landed a huge project, a corporate headquarters that would be his biggest commission yet. It meant long hours and tight deadlines. It meant stress and pressure. But this time, he did not hide it from me. He came home and told me when he was overwhelmed. He asked for help when he needed it. He let me see the struggle, instead of just the polished facade. Natalie started dating her guy more seriously. His name was Thomas, and he was kind and patient and did not seem intimidated by the complexity of her family situation. She brought him to our house for dinner one evening, and I watched her light up around him the way I used to light up around Benjamin in the early days. It gave me hope, not just for her, but for all of us. We were all capable of moving forward, of healing, of finding joy even after pain. Christmas Eve, the three of us went to a candlelight service at a small church in Ballard. We were not particularly religious, but something about the ritual felt right. The church was beautiful, all dark wood and stained glass, lit only by hundreds of candles. We sang carols and listened to the story of a baby born into difficult circumstances who grew up to change the world. It felt symbolic somehow. New beginnings, light and darkness, hope. After the service, we drove around looking at Christmas lights. Natalie sat in the back seat of our car, pointing out houses with particularly elaborate displays. We stopped for hot chocolate at a coffee shop that was miraculously still open. We talked and laughed and made plans for New Year's Eve. We were becoming a family. A strange, patchwork, non-traditional family. But a family nonetheless. On Christmas morning, Benjamin and I woke up early. We made coffee and sat by our small tree exchanging gifts. He gave me a necklace with a small emerald pendant. "To match your eyes," he said, "and to remind you of our anniversary. Not the toast part, but the part where we decided to fight for each other." I gave him a leather journal. "For writing down your feelings," I said, "so you can practice being honest, even when I am not around to push you." He laughed and pulled me close. Best gift ever. Later that day, Natalie came over for Christmas dinner. She brought Thomas. We cooked together, all four of us crammed into our small kitchen, bumping into each other and laughing. It was messy and chaotic, and nothing like the perfect magazine spread Christmases I used to imagine. It was better. As the year drew to a close, Benjamin and I took stock of everything that had happened. We had survived infidelity of a different kind. Not physical betrayal, but emotional withholding. We had faced painful truths about ourselves and each other. We had been forced to rebuild our marriage from the foundation up, examining every assumption, every pattern, every way we related to each other. It had been the hardest year of my life, but it had also been the most transformative. On New Year's Eve, we hosted a small party. Natalie and Thomas, Melissa and her husband, a few other close friends. At midnight, as fireworks exploded over Elliott Bay, visible from our living room windows, Benjamin kissed me. "To new beginnings," he whispered. "To honesty," I replied. "To us," we said together. And I believed it. For the first time in months, I fully believed in us. Not in some fairy tale version of marriage where everything was easy and perfect, but in the real, messy, complicated partnership we were building. The one where we showed up for each other even when it was hard. Where we told the truth even when it hurt. Where we kept choosing each other, day after day, through all the challenges and revelations and growing pains. That night, after everyone left, Benjamin and I cleaned up in comfortable silence. We had become experts at working together, moving around each other with practiced ease. When the house was clean, we went to bed, exhausted but content. I thought about that anniversary dinner months ago. The toast that had shattered everything. The moment when my world had tilted on its axis. At the time, it had felt like an ending. The end of my marriage as I knew it. The end of my certainty about who Benjamin was. But lying there in the dark, Benjamin's arm around me, his breathing evening out as he fell asleep, I realized it had been a beginning. The beginning of real honesty. The beginning of true partnership. The beginning of a marriage built not on assumptions and surface-level connection, but on deep, vulnerable, courageous truth-telling. The perfect woman. That was what Benjamin had toasted to. And he was right in a way. Natalie was perfect for what he needed in that moment. A connection to his past. A missing piece of his identity. A sister to fill a void he did not even know existed. But I was perfect for him too. Not in some idealized, flawless way, but in the way that matters. I was the person who stayed, who fought, who loved him enough to demand better from him, who refused to let him hide behind walls anymore, who insisted that we build something real instead of something polished and pretty and fundamentally hollow. We had months of work ahead of us still. Maybe years. Trust takes a long time to rebuild. Patterns take a long time to break. But we were committed to doing it. Together. I thought about Natalie, probably lying in her own bed across town, maybe thinking about Thomas, maybe thinking about the strange journey that had brought her back to her brother. I thought about their mother in Phoenix, living with decades of regret. I thought about all the choices people make, some good, some terrible, and how we are all just trying to do our best with what we know at the time. Life is messy. Families are complicated. Marriage is hard. But it is also worth it. Worth the fight. Worth the vulnerability. Worth the risk of being truly known by another person. I fell asleep thinking about next year. About the trips we might take. About whether we would be brave enough to try for a baby again. About holidays with our expanding family. About the architecture projects Benjamin would design and the nonprofit programs I would develop. About all the ordinary, beautiful moments that make up a life. The toast had not been to me that night at the restaurant. But in a way, every day since had been. Every morning Benjamin woke up and chose to be honest. Every therapy session where we did the hard work. Every moment of vulnerability and truth. Those were all toasts to our marriage. To the life we were building together. And that was better than any toast in a fancy restaurant could ever be. Outside, Seattle slept under its blanket of winter clouds. Inside, we were warm and safe and together. Imperfect, complicated, real. And that, I thought as sleep finally claimed me, was everything I needed.